Morning, everybody. It's good to see that there's still a lot of faces in the room. I think we're going to talk about some interesting content today, and that is the evolution of a very large legacy publisher into the modern day age. So with me is Matt Starker, who's the GM of Condé Nast Digital. And Matt, before we get started, do you want to give everybody just a quick overview of what you're responsible for?
Sure. So I oversee day-to-day operations of the digital division. So across all of our brands, I oversee digital strategy. So 12-month, 18-month, 3-year strategic planning, business development, and then social.
So Matt, you've been there for almost 4 years now. So
hard to believe it.
within 4 years, you've seen a massive change in the organization. So bring us through that evolution and what it's looked like. We only have 15 minutes, so keep it quick.
Yeah, I could talk for a little bit. So I joined the company 4 years ago, as Jim said, when they were looking to start their entertainment group. So film, television, digital video. So the company basically said, we have all of this great IP from the stories that we've been writing for the last 100 years. How do we transition that into new media formats? So on the film side, we actually have 2 films coming out this year, which will be great. On the TV side, we've sold 5 television shows already. So we've sold to Amazon, we've sold to Sci-Fi, we've sold to Discover ID, so traditionals and new distribution platforms. And then on the digital video side, billions of video views over the years, and Emmy Award nominee series. So a lot of success on that side of the house. Moving over to the digital side, sort of the traditional side of the business, it's been saying, all right, we have this IP. It's not about taking it and transitioning it into new media formats. It's about taking it and finding the audience where it is. Right? So as audiences are spending less time coming to your properties and more time in social, more time in their inbox, more time on portals and other platforms, how do we take that content and distribute it properly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been probably the largest shift that we've seen in the publishing industry is that people are discovering your content, but not within your content sites, right?
Totally.
It's off. So I mean, what have you guys done well? What are you proud of in terms of where you are distributing the content now?
Totally. We have 2 strategies here. We have our on-site strategy, which is all about engagement. Once that user comes in the door, how do we get them deeper within our content well? So putting the user first, making it really easy to navigate the site. Speed, right? It's all about making the sites as fast as possible so they're snappy, they don't jump around. Then off-site, it's about going where the audience is. So a couple big partnerships that we've put in place was a Snapchat, so Snapchat Live. We were the first publisher to do a multi-event partnership with them. So we did 7 events. It spanned the Vanity Fair Oscar party all the way to the Met Gala. So everything that was the biggest moments in Condé Nast, which was very, very successful and obviously reaches huge audiences in that 24-hour span. And then we were the first publisher to do a pop-up channel on Discover. So it's just actually really interesting. So Vanity Fair, one of the things that we're continually trying to do at Condé Nast is push the limit, right, and change the way we are releasing our content and change the story that we're telling. And so Vanity Fair had their Hollywood issue in February, and we partnered with Snapchat to release the cover. So an Annie Leibovitz shot cover on Snapchat for an hour exclusive. So over 48 hours, we told the Snapchat Discover story, we released the cover on Snapchat, and then it went wide an hour later everywhere else.
So you're doing really cool things when it comes to distributing the content, but you have to make money.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So obviously there's shifts in monetization strategy when you're changing where you're actually distributing the content. So talk to me about holistically, on platform or off platform, what have you guys been doing this year that you think has been successful, interesting, innovative from a monetization standpoint?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the publishers in the room are facing similar challenges, right? So performance on banners and boxes, display advertising, not great, right? It is a challenge for the designers out there to fit it in and make it look pretty. And so we've been going for high impact units, right? So what's in the feed, what are bigger, what are non-interruptive, but actually can generate the impression, the brand recall, and the performance that an advertiser is looking for. So we obviously have partnered with Teads for our in-read unit. So every one of our articles now has the opportunity to call an in-article video player, which we've seen great performance. Advertiser demand is like that as well. We've also introduced crown units and parallax units. The big focus here is about working with third parties or internal our ad product team to make it fast, right? So one of the things that we cannot compromise on as a publisher is site speed. And the expectation of the user today with Facebook Instant Articles and with Snapchat and with Apple News is immediacy, right? And it's not jumpy pages, and it's not a latency from a click to an actual consumption of content. And so that's a lot on us from a tech perspective to make it fast and make sure the ads are loading quickly. But it's also working with really good vendors and really good third parties and making sure that our ad tech is strong so that also is snappy and quick. So we've seen that shift on our owned and operated properties. And then with third parties, it's all about playing within their guardrails. So what are we allowed to do, and how do we maximize that? So Facebook Instant Articles is an evolving monetary platform for us. So we're working with them closely to define what that roadmap looks like in terms of monetization. But it's not just average revenue per page view. It's ads per session, right? Revenue per session. And so if we can see deeper engagement within the Facebook Instant Article platform versus sending them back to our own properties, that's a win in terms of raw revenue, right? It might hurt us on a page view perspective, but if the revenue capacity is growing, we look at that as a holistic lens.
So the instant article is a good example. What do you think needs to be done to change the way that monetization is being handled today?
Yeah, I mean, it needs parity, right? So right now it's banners and boxes. Facebook is starting very safe. They're starting small, and it's fine, right? It's making sure that the user experience is right. It's making sure that the advertisers have the right incentives to come on the platform. But it needs to have parity to what our mobile websites have today. We need to say that the monetization will be a one-to-one in terms of that average revenue per page view metric. And then if the engagement is deeper as well, that's just another big win for us.
So the digital piece, which we really focus heavily on today, is obviously a massive push for Condé Nast. But one of the things we were talking about backstage is the evolution of Condé from a publisher into a true pure media company. So why don't you bring everybody through what you guys are looking for from a strategic perspective on that front?
Yeah, I mean, today, it's funny, I'm an old finance guy, so we were talking finance.
He always does hedge fund manager metaphors.
It is. What we're doing right now is we're trying to build billion-dollar businesses, plural, right? And so, we have a great print business. We have an evolving entertainment business. So, on the TV side of the house, pretty successful in the first couple of years. On the film side of the house, we have double-digit projects in production, releases this year. And then on the digital side of the house, it's about creating it's about taking our content and transitioning them into new platforms, right? So in order to sort of recalibrate with the Gen Z audience today, we have to make sure that we're staffed up and ramped up from a product design and engineering perspective to touch on all those emerging platforms. And so, the Wishbones of the world, the Micmacs of the world, these new social platforms that are getting a ton of engagement from, in those two particular young women, we have to be ready and able to pivot and make sure that our content is being created for that environment, which is not syndicating articles. It's not creating video for it. It's creating the bespoke units of content that work there. And so building this sort of 20-pillar strategy where we have hopefully 5% of our business coming from each one of them is really paramount to where we're going in the future.
Well, I mean, that shift in audience and how you guys are approaching it, I think can be evidenced well by the Pitchfork acquisition.
Totally. So it's funny. One of the big reasons why Condé has been so successful is because we have, in my opinion, arguably, the best voices in their respective content verticals. And as we continue to grow the portfolio, it's about bringing the voices that matter in today's world, right? And so last year we looked at sort of the spectrum of Condé Nast and where we really played in a content vertical perspective. So women's lifestyle, men's lifestyle, culture, fashion, beauty, incredibly strong across our portfolio. But where we were weak, music, right? And so we went out and we looked for the best, music journalist, the best music critic out there. And we found a great partner in the Pitchfork family, in the Pitchfork team. We brought them into the family, and it's been incredible to see them grow. We bought them in October, and sort of best practices, a lot of what we've been doing over the last 2 years at the digital house is focusing on being rigorous on the execution front. We've instituted that with the Pitchfork team. We've seen 100% audience growth since the October acquisition.
So what are you guys looking to do this year? I mean, there's a lot, I know, but different from last year. I think it was a big organizational year for you guys last year too, in terms of making sure everything was aligned.
Totally.
What are you excited about that you're going to be doing this year?
The big thing for us right now is building scalable infrastructure. So internally, we brought in the right people, right? You got to assemble the right team, make sure you have the right experts in the building. So we went out and we hired a new head of product, a woman by the name of Arlie Sisson. She ran mobile product for Starwood for the last 5 years. Incredibly savvy technologist. And so she's focused on how do we continue to evolve our product base. We went out and we got a data scientist by the name of Karthik Bala who came over from Everyday Health. His job is to build our data infrastructure, right? So take us from an advertising partner to a marketing partner for our media clients. And then revenue infrastructure, right? We have to be better about how we are monitoring, delivering, and yield management our ad units today. So those are our 3 big internal priorities. And then external, it's all about partnerships. How can we continue to push the limit on experiences that our audience wants to engage with? And that's everything from messaging apps all the way to deeper partnerships with Snapchat and across the board.
Cool. So we have a couple minutes left. I'm going to open up quickly if anybody has any questions for Matt. Yes.
Thank you. Matt, with so many brands underneath you and sort of the shift from very individualized brands making their own decisions, and now you're laying over this large group to take care of each platform that's emerging, are you building individual teams on each of them, or do you have one that sits at the top that helps each one and then you sort of deploy troops from there, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that each one of our brands has an entirely distinct look, feel, and sort of visual aesthetic to them, and that's something that we want those brands to have forever and keep evolving. So all of the brands have designers and engineers that sit with them to work on that specific look and feel and engagement, and then the core team in the middle is focused on sort of the big, large initiatives, right? So as we build out a content platform, we don't want each one of our brands to be building that out. As we build out a video player, we don't want each one of those brands to be focusing on building a video player. It should work for them, right? So that's how we're sort of looking at build the stack across the house, and then each one of the individual brands has their own team to focus on specific, look, feel products.
Any other questions? All right, everybody, thank you very much for your time. Matt,
Thank you,
thanks
guys.
a lot for your stick.